7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tommy and Ellie here with you with another amazing CROC podcast in the heat, the dog days of summer. Angel Santana, have faith, let it begin. My poor dear co-host with the summer cold, sweltering heat. What would we say? Climate change, global warming, and yet we're here for our cancer survivor thrivers. What do you think?
I think that by the time this airs, I'll probably play in the background It's a Cruel Summer, because right now it is brutally hot. Yes, I am under the weather. I'm in a room with air conditioning, and you know what? Nothing stops the CROC podcast.
And I really appreciate that. And thank you for airing that beautiful interview we did with Talea, or she did with us. And I hope everybody enjoyed that, because I certainly enjoyed doing it. And that gave me a week of much needed vacation down the New Jersey beaches, the New Jersey shore. And I have to say, Angel, I've been going to the Jersey Shore for 64 years. This was the best week of weather I ever had. You guys were sweating in 98-degree weather with 100% humidity, and I was getting a beautiful 8-mile-an-hour southwesterly wind off of the bottom of the inlet there, and it was cool on the. I was wearing a coat on the beach, if you could believe that.
Wow, that's nice.
And I have even more good news because of the fact that I'm just back today from vacation. We're going to have a very short and sweet podcast, but yet I hope it will be meaningful. So today's podcast is very, very dear to me because it is another one of those great stories, another lesson from a survivor thriver a couple of weeks ago that I learned, and it really has changed the way I practice, and I want to give her credit. I haven't asked her permission to use her name, so we won't, although I'm sure she would be very proud to have us use her name. But in any event, we'll call her Deb. We will not use her real name. So, Angel, we have spent 4 years, preaching about how important it is for the oncology staff to talk to their patients, how important it is for them to get to know their patients, how important it is for them not to treat them like a piece of meat, how important it is for us to talk to them about the risks and benefits of treatment, all the alternatives of treatment, all of the side effects. We talk about informed consent, which will be a podcast we'll do next week to sort of rally on this podcast. Shared decision making, we did an entire module on. And we just did a podcast not long ago about asking our patients if they felt that their consultation was satisfactory or if they got everything they wanted out of their consult. And then I say to myself, did I forget anything? And yes, indeed, we did. So Deb is a very lovely woman with breast cancer, and she has another special quality. And I say special in the healthcare sense, but also special for what it made her. She is an adult sightless person. So she was not blind from birth, but developed blindness in her in mid part of her life, maybe in her 20s or 30s. And now she's a breast cancer survivor thriver. And when she came to see me, I did my usual consult the way I just mentioned, getting to know her, asked her about, how she lost her sight, getting to know about the things that were important to her, getting to know her as a person, letting her get to know me, and et cetera, et cetera. And then when I was done with everything that we mentioned, the informed consent and the side effects and the whole thing, she said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to explain to me in detail everything that's going to happen to me, when I come in for radiation. And I stopped for a second and I said, wow, this is what a great opportunity. That's a really good question. I've never been asked that before. So I basically went wild. I basically introduced her to every staff member. I walked her around the department with her little stick, so she kind of knew in proximity where the exam rooms were to where the changing rooms were, the changing rooms to where the accelerator was. I had the therapist bring her into the linear accelerator room. We took her to where the bathrooms were. We introduced her to everybody, including Dax, the janitor. We introduced her. So when she left that day, she knew exactly who was taking care of her. We did a dry run with her. We went through things in such detail. It was actually crazy. And then I thought to myself, Angel, it dawned on me, this is the way it should be for every patient, not just for someone who's blind. And I wanted to ask the other practitioners who listen to the CROC podcast exactly how detailed you are in your practice. Are you doing the teaching, or are you relegating the teaching to a practice extender or to an advanced care practitioner? Are you doing the detail-oriented teaching? How do you do your schedule? I joke around with the nurses when they set me up with what I call the rectangle of pain and suffering. That's when I have 2 9 o'clock consults and 2 10 o'clock consults. I'm double booked, for those 2 hours, and those 2 hours are 2 hours of hell. And then I say to myself, well, if I'm scheduling myself like this, I'm really not going to be able to go into the detail that Deb required. So I ask, my fellow practitioners, maybe we should rethink the way we schedule our patients. And I came up, Angel, with the 10 commandments of clarity, transparency, and detail. So these are the things that I think are really important for us as practitioners to serving the illustrious and amazingly brilliant and brave and courageous survivor thriver. I think these are 10 things that we should think about every time we see any patient, not just a blinded patient, not just a patient with special needs, not just a patient who is deaf, not a patient who is in a wheelchair or is paralyzed. This is every patient's right, and they are absolutely entitled to this type of treatment. So what are some of the things that our survivor thrivers are going through when they walk into a room? So I look at what we do from the other side of the other side of the chair, the other side of the table, the other side of the gurney, as almost like seeing a movie about a million times. So I, have seen Step Brothers a million times. I could pretty much quote every line. I've seen, Dodgeball about a million times. I've seen all of these movies, these stupid movies, Semi-Pro, about a million times, and I could quote it. So how about the person that's seeing the movie for the first time? They can't quote it, right? They can't. They really don't know what's going to happen. But because we've seen the movie a million times, we just kind of assume that everyone is having the same experience we are. And when the first thing we have to always remember or remind ourselves and put ourselves in that position is that loss of control. To me, this is absolutely the worst thing that any patient in any kind of healthcare situation, they are giving up control of their body. So they feel helpless, they feel out of control, and they are literally placing their lives in the hands of strangers. So, this year will be my fourth or third, colonoscopy coming up. I've had teeth pulled, I've had blood drawn, I've gotten shots, I've gotten IVs. And for those little tiny specks of medical care that I've had in my 64 years, each time I felt that loss of control, when that IV goes in and when they start putting in the anesthetic and you start feeling yourself, detaching from your body, or when you start going out, or when that needle goes into your arm, you give someone your arm to take blood, you're just giving them your arm. And, I've been lucky, I've had good blood draws, but imagine someone who's not that good, they'll be poking, and you're giving them your arm and you're giving them that to give you pain. So imagine getting ready for anesthesia for like for a Whipple procedure where they take out your pancreas, or for a mastectomy, or when they take out your prostate. Imagine when a patient walks into the linear accelerator room and they see this huge dinosaur of a machine. Like it looks like a dinosaur. It looks like a T-Rex almost. Imagine watching that, having them watch what they call the red devil, which is a type of chemotherapy. It's called adriamycin, and it's red. And it's literally they're watching this red dye, this red tinged medicine going into their vein. Imagine what they must be thinking because they've given up that control, to their healthcare team. And don't you think it's important for them to know the details so they can mentally prepare for that? Commandment number 2, misperceptions and old wives' tales. So chemotherapy has this reputation of causing nausea, where the image, like if a patient were to think about an image about chemotherapy before they get chemotherapy, it would be that warning that would be on drugstore labels, like the poison label, like in It's a Wonderful Life, when the pharmacist was going to give poison to the kid, and then Jimmy Stewart saves the pharmacist from committing that terrible blunder. Radiation burns. Like you think about radiation and your skin is going to fall off, or you think it's like a laser, like a lightsaber from Star Wars. Surgery, you think about somebody's going to be just taking this rusty butter knife and just lopping off your breast, or taking out your prostate, or taking out your vocal cord, and the disfigurement resulted from it. And the other thing that I want to talk about, misperceptions and old wives' tales, is that beware of the apples to oranges. So if a person has a buddy who had prostate cancer and they have prostate cancer, they don't have the same prostate cancer. So anything that happened to patient A doesn't necessarily have to happen to patient B. So again, this is all of the things that we're going to be talking about, these 10 commandments of how we could avoid these things by being more detailed when we talk to our patients and we educate them about what they're up against. Number 3, fear of the unknown. So we all know the famous quote from Winston Churchill while London was being bombed. Actually, no, I take that back. That it wasn't Churchill. I believe it might have been Roosevelt. All we have to fear is fear itself, the famous speech. We'll check that later, Angel. I hope that it was Roosevelt, but I think it was Roosevelt. Anyway, remember when you were a kid, Angel, did you think there were monsters under your bed? If you did, it was because you feared the unknown. If your mother would walk in, your sweet Lucy would come into your room and say, Angel, come with me. And she would take you and turn on the light and bring a flashlight. And she would take a flashlight. See, there's nothing under the bed. Or go into the closet. See, there's nothing in the closet. And then your brother Artie would probably come in and try to scare the crap out of you. But Lucy was there to make sure that you didn't fear the unknown. How about this? I have a fear of strangers. You walk into a procedure, you walk into an accelerator room, and you saw Joe on Monday, you saw David on Tuesday, and now you're meeting Doug on Wednesday, or Mary, or whoever, or Jess, or Caitlin. And then all of a sudden it's like, who are you? Like, you're going to be seeing my body. You're going to be taking care of me. Are you going to line me up properly? I don't know who you are. Some of the guys in our department, they're beautiful and they're handsome, but they're tall. They're big guys, right? Big Joe, he's 6 foot, whatever. Doug is 6 foot, whatever. David's 6 foot. Imagine if you're, a woman, having to undress, and you're meeting all these strangers. But if we introduce you to them, then they're not strangers anymore. Play your hand. So this is not a Kenny Rogers song. This is not poker. This is not a surprise proposal when Angel is proposing to Rachel and he gets down on his knee and he says, honey, I love you forever. You're my best friend. Let's spend the rest of our lives together. This is not that. This is not a Hallmark moment. We need to basically be very clear with our patients, and we have to put all of our cards down right on the table so they can see everything. And again, this will avoid all of the things that we're trying to mitigate. Number 6, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. So that's a famous expression from a trashy novel series that I read, Jack Reacher. I love it. I love the Jack Reacher series, even though it's trash, but regardless, that's one of his sayings. He's a military guy. But when I meet somebody with head and neck cancer, I feel terrible because it's not my personality to do this. But the first time I meet them, and they don't know me from Adam, and I spend a half hour telling them for the next 6 months to 1 year of their life, they're going to wish they were never been born. And I talk about all the horrors of the therapy, all of the dryness and the thick secretions and the choking, and the food doesn't taste good, and the loss of weight and the misery and the pain and the discomfort and blah 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 blah. I swear to God, I almost sometimes want to say, if that was me, I'd want to jump out the window. Good thing that the exam rooms do not have windows. But you really do have to make sure you prepare that patient for worst case scenario. But you don't have to, you could say, this is worst case scenario. Let's hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Informed consent. You have to make sure you're doing a good informed consent so the patients know the pluses and the minuses of therapy, and they know all potential side effects, even side effects that you've never seen in your career. We're going to actually do a special podcast next week to sort of work as a building block on this one, because we've never done one on informed consent, and I'm kind of proud of the way we do it in our department. So we're gonna do that next week. So I'll get into more detail. We've done an entire module, however, on number 8, commandment number 8, shared decision making, where a doctor no longer has the right to tell a person what to do. They have to tell a person what the options are, what the best option is, what the standard of care is, answer all their questions, offer them a second opinion, make sure they're comfortable, and then help them reach the decision that's right for them, not what's right for the doctor. And we've already done that. Number 9, getting to know you, the human. So during this process, when you're going into detail, not only are you getting to know them, because the first thing you're going to ask them, remember, we taught you guys this, is you're going to find out a little bit about your patient. You're going to find out, and you're not going to be satisfied until you know what their favorite color is, what their favorite food is, and what favorite flavor of chewing gum they like to chew. And that's a reference from the movie Hoosiers. So that was a great movie, and that was a great line. But they're also going to get to know you, because you're going to be spending time with them. You're not going to be rushing. You're not going to be just handing it off to somebody to take over. You're going to be the one giving the detail, and they're going to get to know you. And you're going to get to know them not just as a breast or a prostate or a lung. You're going to get to know them as human beings. And finally, number 10, by doing this, you're going to develop trust, and you're going to develop confidence. They're going to trust you. They're going to trust the fact that they're giving their life and they're putting it in your hand, but they're going to trust you with it because they know exactly what to expect, and they know exactly what's going to happen next because you took the time and you told them. And you're also going to instill them with confidence. And it's a confidence in knowing what's next, a confidence in knowing what to expect, and a confidence that they trust you because you were the one who told them everything they needed to know. And at the end of the day, Angel, you've done the right thing. You've done good. And when you know what your reward is, there's less side effects to these patients. They get better outcomes. You personally derive higher professional satisfaction, and your staff will have an amazing morale boost because you've included them from the beginning. You've told them that they're important enough and worthy enough to be introduced from the first time a patient walks in the door. Angel Santana, your thoughts on this very quick and easy podcast?
Well, I would start off by saying that from the quote of Hoosiers, it was flavor of dentine.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, I think what we've just explained is what I consider the circle of trust. And I think that we have allowed ourselves, and of course, the CROC Nation, to know that you can build that circle of trust. And it's really a very simple process, which we've heard it in 10 commandments. And for us, I think as the patient, to get the peace of mind, it's just having that open dialogue with your caregiver, and knowing that what they're explaining to you, whether it's good, bad, or the ugly, is something that you can provide yourself with more peace of mind. So for that, I think it's something that we can all relate to.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want to just take a minute, Angel. We all hope that you're feeling better, and we really appreciate you coming on tonight to help me provide this information to our most esteemed and amazing, CROC Nation, our survivor thrivers. You guys are absolutely so important, not just to us, but to everybody, to your family, to your friends, to your coworkers. You guys are going through hell. We get that. But we want to let you know that when you walk into a doctor's office with everything else that's going on, all the pain, all the suffering, all the toxicity, all the side effects, and all the fear, we want to let you know that you are deserving of getting all of this information. We want you to feel that you're not being a bother. We want you to feel that you deserve this information and that your doctors and nurses and your healthcare team will take the time to provide you this information, because at the end of the day, number one, we don't want you to feel that loss of control. Number two, we don't want you to have any misperceptions or have thoughts about something that's even not going to happen. I saw a poster in a bagel shop once. 99% of the things that happened to me in my life never happened. So you don't have to worry about those misperceptions. Number three, you don't have to fear the unknown, because you're going to know everything that's going to happen to you. You don't have to fear any strangers, because you will have already been introduced to your healthcare team. You will not have to feel that your doctor is playing poker with you, because he's going to lay his cards down so you could see his cards. And then you're going to do the Jack Reacher. You're going to hope for the best, but you're going to be ready for whatever happens or whatever the good Lord puts in front of you, whatever obstacle or challenge, you will be up to it. You will have informed consent, which will be amazing. You'll know exactly what's going on when you sign your name to that legal document. You're going to participate fully in shared decision-making. You're going to get to know your doctor and healthcare team, and you're going to develop this trust and confidence. And if everyone does their job, at the end of the day, you're going to do better. To Angel Santana, have faith, let it begin. Rod Freeman, the rest of the CROC board of directors, for sharing their talents and their caring and their love of our survivor thrivers. We thank you. To our survivor thrivers, we end this podcast the way we end every single podcast, by wishing you this blessing. We wish you a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. God bless you. God be with you. Peace.